Hello, viewers. I am Mr. Dilip Kumar Pal. Today, in this video, stands before you with a very important topic of political theory, that is, liberal theory of democracy. It means, what is democracy for liberals? This video mainly glances about views of liberals on democracy, or what is the view of liberal about democracy. And this video focuses on supporters of liberal theory of democracy, features of liberal theory of democracy, and weak points of liberal theory of democracy. So this video mainly gives attention to who are the liberals. Number two, what are the main features of democracy for liberals? And what are the weak points of liberals' theory on democracy? So let us start. In the subject political science, there are various theories of democracy. Democracy has been defined by various persons. For Marxist, democracy is of different type. For liberals, democracy of different types. So, liberal thinkers like John Locke, Voltaire, Charles de Montesquieu, John Trenchard, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, Thomas Gordon, Denis Diderot, Francois Quinsnay, they define democracy as a system where as many as 11 important principles must be found in democracy. For liberals, democracy is a system where as many as 11 important principles must be present. First one is representative government. It must be in democracy. Number two, civil liberties. Number three, defined and specific role of executive. Number four, limited government. And number five, social and economic checks and balance. Then 6, political checks and balance. 7, independent judiciary. Number 8, separation of power. Number 9, enlightened citizens. Number 10, judicial review. And number 11, rule of law. So for liberals, democracy is a system where some principles must be observed. And in this video, we have discussed as many as 11 points. The first principle of democracy for liberal is that there must be representative government. In democracy, the government must be representative of people. The government must be representative of people. Government derives power from people, and government is responsible to people. So government works as the representative of people. Government is not the master, rather people are the master, and government works as people's representative. So as government is the representative of people, people change the government from time to time in every general election. And if any government will work in a better way, people permit the government to continue for another term by means of election. So the first principle of democracy is that there must be a representative government. It means government should work as the representative of people. And number two, civil liberties. In democracy, people must enjoy some liberties. There are certain liberties which are very much essential for people. Without these liberties, people cannot live like human beings. So people enjoy some basic liberties in democracy, like freedom of speech, expression, and they can form any associations. Through associations, they fulfill their purpose. So in democracy, people must have some liberties. Number three, defined and specific role of executive. In democracy, no doubt executives are found, but their roles are defined. What they will function, what they will not perform, everything has been defined. And there are two types of executives. One is the political executives, other one is the bureaucrats. So it is the function of political executive to frame the policy, and it is the function of bureaucratic executive to execute the policy. So policy formulation is the function of political executive, and policy implementation is the function of the bureaucratic executive. So in democracy, functions of executives are clearly defined. They cannot work out of track. And number four, in democracy there must be limited government. In democracy, government must not act arbitrarily, but the government will function on the basis of the constitution. What the constitution authorizes the government will carry it out. Government will work on the basis of the principles of the constitution. It cannot work arbitrarily. Government has limited functions. And no doubt within a government, executive, legislature and judiciary are found. And these three organs control one another. Legislative power, executive power and judicial power are not in the hands of one person. Rather, these three powers are in the hands of different persons, and these organs control one another. So government is a limited one. And number five, social and economic check and balance. In democracy, there are various associations, there are various groups which control the government. They control social activities of the government, they control economic activities of the government. So government will not be allowed to function independently. Government is controlled by different type of association and groups in social way and in economic way. Activities of the government, the social activities of the government and economic activities of the government are being controlled by different associations. So government cannot work whimsically. Then in democracy, liberals point out that there must be political checks and balance. It means the people participate in the decision making process. People can criticize the government, and there are also various opposition parties which will control the government. So government cannot function arbitrarily or whimsically. Rather, the activities of the government is controlled by opposition parties, and people also control the government. If people will not be satisfied with the function of the government, in the next election, they will dethrone the government. So government is checked also politically. Then In democracy, there will be independence of judiciary. Judiciary will function independently. It is kept out from the influence of legislature and executive. So, in democracy, an independent judiciary is observed. If judiciary will not be independent, then democracy will not be fruitful. Again, in democracy there must be separation of power. This is the eighth feature. In democracy there must be separation of power. It means power of the executive, legislature and judiciary are kept in different hands. No one will interfere in others' function. Legislature will function in the field of formation of law, executive will execute the law, judiciary will interpret the law. Executive, legislature and judiciary will function independently. These three powers will not be in the hands of one person. Legislature, executive, judiciary will function independently, but they will control one another. Separation of power must be found. Again, in democracy, there must be enlightened citizens. To make democracy a successful one, to feel the fragrance of democracy, people must be enlightened or educated. If people will not be educated, they will not be aware about their rights, they will not be aware about the powers of government. So people must be enlightened, people must be educated. Then, in democracy, there must be judicial review. Judicial review means whenever the legislature will make law or executive will execute law, judiciary must watch their activities. If legislature will make law unconstitutionally, if executive will execute law unconstitutionally, judiciary can declare them as null and void or invalid. So judiciary watches the activities of the legislature and executive. It is judicial review. Then finally there must be rule of law. In democracy there must be rule of law. It means law will decide everything. Everything will be conducted on the basis of law, not by the wish of any person. What law will decide, it will prevail. What law will determine, it will occur. So, in democracy, there must be 11 important principles. So, for liberals, democracy is not a matter of joke. In democracy, there must be 11 important principles so that the real democracy can be achieved. So, we are clear what is democracy for liberals. Now we'll discuss some weak points of liberals' view on democracy. Number one, weak government. Liberals point out that in democracy, there must be social check, political check, constitutional check, and legal check on the government. There will be a lot of checks on the government. So the result will be a weak government. So if there will be a weak government, if there will be a powerless government, in society there will be indiscipline. Number two, liberals point out that the decision of majority will prevail. So by this, there will be problem of interest of minority. If decision of majority group will prevail, then the interest of minority people will be in problem. Finally, in democracy, there must be a lot of groups and associations. By this, people will be fragmented, people will be divided. So, the unity of the country will be in problem. So, in this video we have discussed who are the liberals. We have discussed John Locke, Voltaire, Charles D. Montesquieu, John Trenchard, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, Thomas Gordon, Dennis Diderot and Francois Quinsney. They are the liberals. We've discussed who are the liberals and for them what are the basic principles of democracy. We have discussed as many as 11 principles of democracy. Then we have discussed what are the weak points of liberal theory of democracy. The first weak point is that they point out that in democracy there must be a lot of checks on government. So critics point out that by this there will be weak government. Number two, they point out that in democracy the decision of majority group will prevail. By this interest of minority people will be in problem. Again they are telling that in democracy there must be various groups. By this people will be divided. So unity of the country will be in problem. Thank you viewers. I feel that this video will be very much useful to you. I think you will get a lot of benefit from this video, and I request you to subscribe my channel, and I request you, if you want any important video on any topic, please intimate me through my channel. Thank you viewers. Again we'll be here with another video. Till now, goodbye to all.